I didn't destroy his life. I just stopped protecting his lies. And the moment I spoke, everything around him started breaking. My name is Olivia. For almost 10 years, he was my brother. Not by blood, but by everything that mattered. Our parents were together long enough for us to grow up side by side. Same house, same routines, same childhood memories. So when I say I knew him better than most people ever could. Or at least, I thought I did. Because the person I grew up with is not the same person the world sees now. At some point, something shifted. It didn't happen overnight. It started with small things. Comments that didn't feel right. Jokes that carried a little too much truth behind them. I ignored it at first. Everyone says things they don't mean sometimes, right? But then it got worse. Much worse. Every single day, his social media became the same toxic cycle. Gym videos, drinking, and long, aggressive rants about how much he hated women. Not just criticism, pure hate. He would mock them, objectify them, talk about them like they were nothing. At first, I muted his stories. Then I stopped checking completely. But somehow it still followed me. People started sending me screenshots. Isn't this your brother? I never knew how to answer that. Because the truth was, I didn't recognize him anymore. And deep down, something felt wrong. Not just uncomfortable. Dangerous. Because the more I watched, the more certain I became. This wasn't new. This was just the first time he stopped hiding it. And that's when memories started coming back. Things I ignored before. Things I explained away. Things I should have taken seriously. Back in school, he was always in trouble. Fights, bullying, aggression. But nothing ever happened to him. No real consequences. His father was always there to protect him. Excuses were made. Situations were brushed aside. And I convinced myself it wasn't a big deal. I told myself, he'll grow out of it. But he didn't. He just learned how to get away with more. Then one day, everything changed. There was a girl I used to know. We weren't close, but we had mutual friends. She reached out to me out of nowhere. Not casually, not like someone just catching up, but like someone who had been holding something heavy for a long time and couldn't carry it anymore. I still remember staring at my phone as I read her message. My hands felt cold. My chest felt tight because what she told me was something I couldn't ignore. She said he hurt her, not in a way you can easily explain. Not in a way you can just forget. In a way that changes you. I read it over and over again, trying to find a reason not to believe it, trying to convince myself there was some mistake. Because if it was true, then everything I believed about him was wrong. But the more she spoke, the more real it became. She didn't want attention. She didn't want revenge. She didn't even want people to know. She just wanted someone to understand. So I stayed quiet. I respected her. I didn't post anything. Didn't confront him. I told myself it wasn't my place. But silence doesn't make things disappear. It just gives them space to grow. And while I stayed quiet, he got louder, more confident, more aggressive. His posts became worse, more hateful, like he believed no one could touch him, like he was untouchable. And that's when something inside me shifted. I realized he wasn't going to stop, because no one had ever made him stop. And maybe that was the real problem. Everyone looked away. Everyone stayed silent, including me, until I couldn't anymore. That night, I opened my phone. I didn't overthink it. I didn't plan it. I just knew I was done protecting someone who didn't deserve it. I took a screenshot of his profile, and I posted it, along with the truth people didn't see. I didn't share names. I didn't expose anything that wasn't mine to tell. But I made one thing clear. The person he pretends to be is not who he really is. And then I tagged him. For a few minutes, nothing happened. It was quiet. Too quiet. Then one notification appeared. Then another. And another. Messages started coming in. People asking questions. People connecting things. People realizing this wasn't just random. For the first time in his life, he couldn't control what people were saying about him. And I thought that was the end of it. I thought I had done enough. But I was wrong. Because the next morning, I woke up to a message that changed everything again. It was from someone I didn't even know. And what she said made my post look small. Because she wasn't the only one. I thought posting the truth would be enough. I thought maybe, just maybe, it would make him stop. I was wrong. The next morning, I woke up to a message request from a name I didn't recognize. I almost ignored it, but something told me not to. So I opened it, and what I read made my stomach drop. She didn't ask questions. She didn't hesitate. She just said, "I saw your story and I think we need to talk." My heart started racing because I already knew what that meant. I just didn't want to accept it. We started talking, slow at first, careful, like she was trying to see if I was safe, if she could trust me. And then as she told me what happened to her, different place, different time, same person, him, I felt cold all over because this wasn't one story anymore. This wasn't one mistake. This was a pattern. And the worst part, she thought she was the only one too. She had been silent for the same reason. Fear, doubt, shame that didn't even belong to her. And now here we were, two strangers connected by the same truth and the same person. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know how to process it because every message she sent broke whatever denial I still had left. He didn't just change. He didn't just become toxic. He was hiding something much darker this whole time. And somehow, he kept getting away with it. But this time was different, because now, there was more than one voice. And voices are harder to silence. That's when things started moving fast. People were sharing my story. Screenshots were spreading. More eyes. More attention. And then, his response came. Not privately. Not to me. Publicly. Like always. He posted a story, laughing it off, calling it fake, saying people were obsessed with him, that it was all lies. And for a second, I almost expected that. But what I didn't expect was how far he would go, because he didn't stop there. He started twisting everything, saying I was jealous, that I was trying to ruin his life, that I was crazy. And just like that, he tried to flip the story, make himself the victim. It was so predictable. And yet, it still hit hard, because people believed him. Not everyone, but enough to make noise. Enough to make things messy. My phone didn't stop buzzing. Messages from both sides. Some supporting me. Some questioning me. Some telling me to stay out of it. Like I hadn't already been dragged into it. And for a moment, I felt it. That pressure. That doubt creeping in. What if this gets out of control? What if I made a mistake? What if? Then I remembered her message. And the other one. And the way their words felt real. Raw. Unfiltered. And I knew one thing for sure. This wasn't a mistake. This was overdue. So instead of backing down, I did the one thing he didn't expect. I stayed. I didn't delete anything. I didn't respond emotionally. I didn't argue. I just let the truth sit there. And that silence started speaking louder than anything I could say. Because while he kept posting, kept talking, kept trying to control the narrative, people started noticing something. He was trying too hard, too defensive, too loud. And the louder he got, the more suspicious it looked. That's when another message came in. Then another. And another. Different names. Same story. Same fear. Same person. At that point, it wasn't just exposure anymore. It was unraveling. Everything he built, every image he created, every lie he stood on, was starting to crack. And he felt it. You could see it. Because his tone changed. The joke stopped. The confidence slipped. And for the first time, he went quiet. No posts. No stories. Nothing. Just silence. But it wasn't the same kind of silence as before. This one felt different. Heavy. Like something was about to happen. And I should have known. It wasn't over yet. Because later that night, I got a call. From him. And what he said was nothing like I expected. I stared at my phone as it rang. His name on the screen felt unreal. For a moment, I thought about ignoring it. Blocking him. Pretending he didn't exist. But something inside me said answer it. So I did. I didn't say anything at first. Neither did he. Just silence. Heavy. Uncomfortable. Then finally he spoke. Not angry. Not shouting. Calm. Too calm. Olivia, what are you doing? Like none of this was serious. Like this was just some small misunderstanding. I felt something shift in me right then. Because that tone. I recognized it. It was the same tone he used when he was trying to control a situation. When he wanted to sound reasonable. So he could twist everything later. I told the truth, I said. Simple. Clear. He let out a quiet laugh. Not amused. More like disbelief. You don't even know what you're talking about. There it was. Denial. Exactly what I expected. But then he changed tactics. Fast. You're ruining my life over rumors. Rumors. That word hit me harder than I expected. Because I knew what he was trying to do. Minimize it. Shrink it. Turn something real into something dismissible. I stayed quiet, and that seemed to bother him. Because then his voice changed again. Sharper this time. You think anyone's going to believe you? I didn't answer. You're just making yourself look stupid. Still nothing. And then he slipped. You don't even have proof. That's when I realized something. He wasn't calm. He wasn't confident. He was nervous. Because if he truly believed he was untouchable, he wouldn't be calling me. He wouldn't be trying this hard. You're scared, I said. Silence. For a second, I thought the call dropped. Then he spoke again. Lower. Colder. You have no idea what you're starting. That wasn't denial. That was a warning. And right there, everything became clear. This wasn't just about clearing his name. This was about control. He needed to shut me down. Before things got worse. Before more people spoke. Before the truth got louder than him. I'm not stopping, I said. I don't even know where that strength came from. But I meant it. And he knew it. Because the next thing he said was exactly what I feared. You should have stayed out of it. Then the call ended. Just like that. No goodbye. No explanation. Just silence. I sat there for a while, trying to process everything. My hands were shaking. Not from fear, but from the weight of it all. Because now it was real. This wasn't just online anymore. He was involved. Directly. And I knew this wasn't over. Not even close. A few minutes later, my phone lit up again. But this time it wasn't him. It was a message. From someone I didn't know. Again, my heart started racing. Because by now, I understood what that meant. I opened it. And what I saw made everything worse. I've been scared to say anything, but I think I need to now. Another one. Another story. Another piece of the truth. And this time, she had screenshots. Messages. Proof. Real evidence. My chest tightened. Because this changed everything. This wasn't just words anymore. This was something people couldn't ignore. Something he couldn't talk his way out of. I looked at the messages again. Then again. Making sure I wasn't misunderstanding anything. But it was all there. Clear. Undeniable. And suddenly, I wasn't the only one holding something. Now I had a choice. I could keep letting people come to me privately. Or I could take it further. And the moment I thought about that, my phone started blowing up again. Notifications. Mentions. Tags. His friends. Posting about me. Calling me names. Saying I was lying. Saying I was doing this for attention. Trying to bury the truth before it fully surfaced. It was getting louder. Messier. More aggressive. And for a second, I felt overwhelmed. Because this wasn't just him anymore. This was everyone around him. Protecting him. Defending him. Like they always had. But something was different this time. Because now, there was proof. And no matter how loud they got, they couldn't erase that. I took a deep breath. Looked at the screenshots one more time. And made a decision. If he thought I was going to stop, he didn't know me at all. Because what I was about to do next was something he wouldn't be able to control. Not this time. And not ever again. That night, I opened my story again. And instead of words, I uploaded the evidence. And within minutes, everything exploded. But I didn't realize just how big it would get until the next morning. Because when I woke up, his name wasn't just in messages anymore. It was everywhere. And someone powerful had finally noticed. I didn't expect to wake up to chaos. But that's exactly what it was. My phone wouldn't stop vibrating. Notifications stacked on top of each other, so fast I couldn't even read them properly. Messages, mentions, tags, his name everywhere. And for the first time, it wasn't controlled by him. It wasn't gym clips or loud opinions. It was questions, doubt, and people finally paying attention. I sat up slowly, heart racing, trying to understand how big this had gotten overnight. Then I saw it. A post. Not from someone random. Not from a friend. From someone with a following. Someone people actually listened to. They had shared the screenshots. Shared the story. and asked one simple question. How long has this been going on? That was it. That one sentence lit everything on fire, because now it wasn't just whispers. It wasn't private messages. It was public. And once something goes public like that, you can't pull it back. I kept scrolling. More posts. More people talking. Some angry. Some shocked. Some finally connecting things they ignored before. And then I noticed something else. His silence. No posts. No stories. Nothing. After everything he had been saying, everything he had been doing, he was gone. And somehow, that was louder than anything. Because people noticed. They started asking why he wasn't responding. Why he suddenly disappeared. Why someone who always had something to say had nothing now. And the longer he stayed silent, the worse it looked. But silence doesn't mean surrender. Sometimes, it means planning. And I should have known that. Because by the afternoon, he came back. Not the same way. Not loud. Not aggressive. Different. Careful. He posted a statement. Long. Polished. Calculated. Saying he was being targeted. That people were spreading false narratives. That he was dealing with it privately. No apologies. No accountability. Just words designed to protect him. And for a second, I saw it happening again. People hesitating. People unsure. Because that's what he was good at. Blurring the line, just enough to create doubt. But this time, something stopped it. Because underneath his post, people weren't staying quiet. They were asking questions. Real ones. About the screenshots. About the messages. About the patterns. And he didn't have answers. Not real ones. So instead, he turned to something else. Pressure. I started getting messages again. But these felt different. Less like opinions. More like warnings. Take it down. You're going too far. You don't know what you're doing. At first, I ignored them. But then, they got closer. People we both knew. Mutual connections. Even someone from my own past. Telling me to stop. Telling me I was making things worse. And that's when I realized. This wasn't just about him anymore. This was about protecting an image. A reputation. A version of him people didn't want to let go of. Because if they accepted the truth, they'd have to accept that they ignored it too. And that's not easy for anyone. For a moment, I felt it again. That pressure. That doubt. It crept in quietly. What if this spirals? What if this turns into something bigger than I can handle? But then I thought about them. The messages. The voices that stayed quiet for so long. And how hard it must have been to finally speak. And I knew one thing. I couldn't stop now. Not when it finally mattered. So I didn't respond to the warnings. I didn't argue. I didn't defend myself. I just stayed steady. And let the truth keep moving. Because at this point, it wasn't mine alone anymore. More people were speaking up. Not all publicly. Some still scared. Some still unsure. But enough. Enough to show a pattern no one could ignore. And once people see a pattern, it's hard to unsee it. By evening, things shifted again. But this time, it wasn't online. It was real. I got a message from someone I trusted. Short. Direct. He's in trouble. I stared at it, trying to understand what that meant. Then another message came in. From someone else. He's trying to fix this before it gets worse. Fix it. That word felt wrong. Because you don't fix something like this. You face it. Or you run from it. And knowing him, I already had a feeling which one he would choose. But what I didn't expect was how fast things would escalate after that. Because later that night, I got a message I wasn't prepared for. Not from a stranger. Not from someone online. From his family. And what they asked me to do changed everything. I knew that message was coming. I just didn't expect it to feel like that. My phone lit up with a name I hadn't seen in a long time. His family. For a second, I just stared at it, thinking about everything. The years. The memories. The version of him they still believed in. Then I opened it. The message was calm. Too calm. We need to talk. Not what happened. Not is this true. Just we need to talk. I already knew what that meant. So I didn't rush to reply. I waited. Let them send the next message. And they did. This has gone too far. There it was. Not concern. Not accountability. Just damage control. I felt something settle inside me right then. Because this wasn't about the truth for them. It was about stopping it. We can fix this privately. Fix it. That word again. Like everything that happened could just be cleaned up and hidden. Like it always had been. I finally replied, "There's nothing to fix." A few seconds passed. Then my phone rang. I didn't want to answer. But I did. Because I needed to hear it. Not just read it. Their voice was controlled. Measured. Trying to stay calm. "Olivia, you don't understand what you're doing." I stayed quiet. "You're destroying his future." That almost made me laugh. Not because it was funny, but because of how familiar it sounded. Like his actions had nothing to do with any of this. Like I was the problem. "He destroyed that himself," I said. Silence. Then a sigh. Heavy. Frustrated. "We're asking you to take everything down." Not requesting. Not discussing. Asking. Like they still had that control. Like I would just listen. Like I always had. But something was different now. "I'm not taking anything down." My voice didn't shake, and I think that surprised them. Because the tone changed. Softer. More emotional. Think about everything we've been through as a family. That hit deeper than I expected. Because those memories were real. The good ones. The ones that made this harder. But then I remembered something else. The silence. The excuses. The times things were ignored. "You had chances to stop this," I said quietly. "You didn't." Another silence. Longer this time. And then, they tried one last time. "If this continues, it won't end well for anyone." That wasn't concern. That was a warning. Clear. Direct. And in that moment, everything became simple. Because I finally understood something. This wasn't just about him. It was about a system that protected him. Over and over again. And the only reason it worked was because people stayed quiet. I ended the call. Not angrily. Not dramatically. Just done. I sat there for a while, looking at my phone, thinking about how everything changed so fast. But at the same time, how it had been building for years. And now there was no going back. The next few days felt unreal. More people spoke. More stories came out. Some public, some private, but all pointing to the same truth. And eventually, it caught up to him. Not in one big moment, but slowly, piece by piece. People started pulling away. Opportunities disappeared. The image he built started falling apart. And this time, no one could stop it. Not his posts. Not his words. Not even the people who tried to protect him. Because once the truth is seen, it doesn't disappear. It stays. And it changes everything. I didn't celebrate. I didn't feel powerful. If anything, I just felt quiet. Because this was never about revenge. It was about ending something that should have ended a long time ago. And maybe that's what real consequences look like. Not loud, not dramatic, just unavoidable. As for me, I moved on. Not like nothing happened, but stronger, clearer, done carrying something that was never mine to hold. And him, the last thing I heard was that he finally stopped posting. Completely. No stories, no noise, nothing. And for the first time in years, that silence actually meant something. Because this time, it wasn't control. It was the absence of it.